In a small village nestled between rolling hills and wide green fields, there lived a tailor whose skill with needle and thread was admired by all. His shop stood at the corner of the market street, a modest place with a wooden bench and rolls of fabric stacked neatly against the wall. Day and night the sound of his scissors snipping and the quiet hum of his needle at work could be heard. People from near and far came to him, for no one could craft garments as perfectly as he could. A simple piece of cloth would turn into a robe so graceful that men and women wore it with pride. Over the years, the tailor became well known, and with that fame, a sense of pride began to grow in his heart. He began to believe that his art was the most important in the world, for after all, what was a person without clothes? Not far from the tailor shop, another man lived whose fame was of a different kind. He was a singer, blessed with a voice that could melt the hardest of hearts. When he sang, his notes carried across the fields and echoed through the alleys of the village. People stopped whatever they were doing just to listen. Farmers paused in their plowing, women leaned against doorways, and children gathered in circles to be carried away by the melody. His songs spoke of love, sorrow, hope, and the mysteries of life. To many, his voice was not merely entertainment but a source of comfort in their hardest days. Unlike the tailor, the singer's wealth did not lie in gold or silver, but in the joy he spread and the admiration he received. One afternoon, as fate would have it, the tailor and the singer crossed paths at the village square. At first, their meeting was casual, but soon a conversation arose that would spark a silent rivalry between them. The tailor, standing tall with pride, looked at the singer and said, "You may charm people with your voice, but let us be honest. Without me, what would they do? Can anyone walk the streets without clothes? Can anyone sit in gatherings without garments to cover themselves? My work is the foundation of human dignity, while your singing is nothing more than passing amusement." The singer did not take offense but smiled calmly, replying with quiet confidence, "Your craft indeed gives comfort to the body, but my songs give peace to the soul. What use is the finest robe if the heart remains heavy with sorrow? What joy is there in wearing silk if a man cannot find laughter or hope in his life? My voice lifts the burden from weary hearts, and that is no small thing." The tailor's eyes narrowed, his pride stung by the singer's words. "Peace to the soul?" he scoffed. "Tell me, can your songs keep a man warm in winter? Can they protect him from the sun in summer? What value is music compared to a coat that shields a man from the storm?" The singer, still unshaken, replied, "And tell me, tailor, can your coat bring back a smile to a grieving widow? Can your robe make a child laugh who has known only hunger and despair? I do not deny the worth of your skill, but you cannot deny mine either. Every art has its place, every gift its season." Villagers who overheard the exchange began to murmur. Some nodded in agreement with the tailor, thinking that food and clothing were indeed more important than song. Others sided with the singer, remembering how his voice had comforted them during long nights of worry. The debate, though polite, grew heated, and soon both men walked away, each convinced of his own superiority. From that day on, a seed of rivalry was planted between them. The tailor, when stitching garments late into the night, often thought bitterly of the singer's carefree life, wondering how a man who only used his voice could be valued as much as one who worked tirelessly with his hands. The singer, on the other hand, though not prideful by nature, began to feel the sting of comparison as well. He asked himself why people could not see that music was as vital to life as bread or clothing. Days turned into weeks, and the silent competition between them only grew. Each time the tailor finished a new design, he secretly hoped it would outshine the singer's next performance. And each time the singer raised his voice in song, he hoped it would drown out the praise people gave to the tailor's fine garments. Though neither openly admitted it, both were consumed by the desire to prove that their art was greater, their gift more essential. The village, too, became divided in thought. Some believed the tailor was right, that clothing was the true necessity of life. Others believed the singer's songs were a treasure no less valuable than a fine robe. But time, as always, had its own way of teaching lessons that no argument could settle. And so, the stage was set for a test that neither the tailor nor the singer had foreseen, a trial that would soon show them, and all who watched, the true worth of their talents. The weeks passed, and the rivalry between the tailor and the singer quietly burned beneath the surface of the village. Though they went about their daily lives, each was restless, waiting for a chance to prove his worth once and for all. That chance came when the village chief announced that a great celebration would soon be held. It was to mark the end of a long season of hard work and the beginning of the harvest. People from nearby villages would be invited, and it was promised that this festival would be the grandest in years. The tailor's heart leapt at the news. At last, he thought, this would be the perfect moment to show everyone the true value of his art. He spent day and night at his bench, cutting and sewing with more care than ever before. His hands, though worn from years of labor, moved swiftly and skillfully, bringing to life robes of deep velvet, gowns adorned with golden threads, and tunics that shimmered in the sunlight. He imagined the villagers wearing his creations, admired by guests from afar, and in that vision he saw his triumph over the singer. Meanwhile, the singer too prepared in his own way. He walked through the fields at dusk, practicing his voice against the wind and the rustling of the crops. He chose songs that spoke not only of joy and laughter but also of struggle, hope, and unity, songs that would touch the heart of every listener. He did not care for wealth, nor did he crave applause, but deep within he longed to remind people of the invisible strength that music carried. He wanted them to feel that life was more than fabric and flesh, it was also spirit, and the spirit needed its food as much as the body did. The day of the celebration arrived. The square was decorated with lanterns that swayed in the breeze, and stalls of food filled the air with the scent of roasted meat and sweet bread. Children ran about, their laughter mingling with the clatter of drums and the voices of vendors. The entire village was alive with excitement, and anticipation hung like a spark ready to burst into flame. When the time came, the tailor stepped forward first. He presented the villagers with the garments he had made. One by one the people put them on, and the square seemed to glow with colors brighter than the setting sun. The women twirled in dresses that glittered with tiny beads. The men walked proudly in finely cut coats, and the children laughed as their simple clothes were replaced with bright tunics. A murmur of admiration rose from the crowd. Guests from other villages clapped their hands in wonder, praising the beauty and elegance of the tailor's work. The tailor's chest swelled with pride. At that moment he felt invincible, as though no art could rival his. But then, when the garments had been admired, a hush fell over the crowd. The singer stepped into the center of the square. He wore nothing fancy, only a plain robe, but when he opened his mouth, the air itself seemed to pause and listen. His voice rose soft and steady at first, like a stream trickling over stones, then grew fuller, flowing like a river. He sang of the land they had worked, of the rains that had blessed their fields, of the sweat on their brows and the joy of reaping what they had sown. He sang of love that endured hardships, of mothers rocking their children to sleep, of fathers returning home after long days of toil. He sang of dreams carried in the hearts of the young and of wisdom preserved in the memories of the old. The people listened, and slowly their eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow but of recognition. They were reminded of who they were, of what bound them together as a community, as a family. Some clutched their new garments with pride, but they realized that the fabric on their bodies was only a shell, while the song spoke directly to the life within them. Children stopped their running and stared wide-eyed at the singer. Women wiped their eyes, and even the strongest of men bowed their heads, moved in silence. When the last note faded into the night, there was no applause at first, only stillness. Then, as if a spell had been broken, the crowd erupted into cheers, louder and longer than any the singer had ever heard. The tailor stood in the corner watching, his pride crumbling into dust. For all his skill and effort, for all the beauty of his robes, he knew he had not touched the hearts of the people as the singer had. Yet, in that moment of defeat, something shifted within him. He looked at the villagers radiant in the garments he had sewn, and realized that the singer's voice and his own handiwork were not enemies but companions. The robes gave dignity to the people's bodies, but the songs gave dignity to their souls. Without one, the other was incomplete. The singer, too, turned his eyes toward the tailor, and their gazes met not as rivals but as men who had both been humbled by the truth. The village chief, who had watched it all in silence, stepped forward. He raised his hand and said, "Tonight we have seen a great lesson. A robe may clothe the body, but a song clothes the spirit. We cannot live without either. The tailor gives us pride in how we appear, and the singer gives us pride in who we are within. One without the other leaves us half a people. Let us honor them both, for together they remind us of what it means to live fully." The villagers nodded and applauded, not one louder than the other, but equally for both the tailor and the singer. The tailor felt a warmth he had never known before, not the cold fire of pride, but the gentle glow of humility and acceptance. The singer, too, felt lighter, for he no longer needed to prove himself. They approached each other, and the tailor said quietly, "I was blind to think that my craft alone was the greatest. You have shown me that every gift has its place." "And you have reminded me," the singer replied, "that, without men like you, the beauty of our gatherings would be dimmed. We both serve the same people, each in our own way." From that night on, the tailor and the singer became friends. Often the tailor would stitch robes while listening to the singer's melodies, and the singer would sing at gatherings where people wore the tailor's finest work. The village thrived in unity, for its people had learned a lesson that endured longer than the garments and echoed deeper than the songs. That life is richest when every gift is valued, every talent honored, and every soul lifted in harmony.